Gordon Parker spent Anzac Day at the football. He was too young to fight in the Second World War, but joined the occupation forces in Japan for a bit of adventure. That was when he met Cherry Sakuramoto, a housemaid for the Australian soldiers. She could speak hardly a word of English, but in a few years they would be married. While Gordon watched football today, Cherry stayed home. Separation is nothing new to them. For the first years of their married life, they lived separated in different countries.
That's all my family. Japanese newspapermen come up and took this photograph.
When would that have been?
About 28, 29 years.
Really? It was the immigration minister of the time, Arthur Caldwell, who kept Gordon and Cherry apart. It was his edict that no Japanese war brides would be allowed to migrate to Australia. But to talk to them now, where you might expect anger and bitterness, there's only tolerance of what must have been an intolerable situation. Gordon talks fondly about those early days.
Because everything was new to me. Never been in a foreign country before, and people were different. And I had fairly strong feelings about Japanese people anyway. So there was no immediate attraction or anything like that.
And there was a rule of no fraternisation too, wasn't there, at the time?
Yes, there was supposed to be. At that time it was virtually impossible to get married if you're in the services. I don't know if you're a civilian, what would have happened, but in the services, as soon as you applied to get married, that was an automatic one-way ticket home.
Yeah. So what happened in your case?
Oh, well, in my case, I decided to come home because there was nothing I could do there, and hoping that by coming home I might be able to get permission from the Australian authorities to bring my wife home.
Mm-hmm. There were some complications. You were actually married 3 times, I understand.
3 times. We were married in a Japanese civil ceremony, which is really nothing. It's a formality type of marriage, not the same as registry marriage in Australia. And then after that we were married in a church ceremony, and then finally we were married by the British consul in Osaka.
Did that have anything to do, the 3 marriages, with trying to get Mrs. Parker to Australia?
Oh, my word. Yeah, my word. Well, the Australian government wouldn't recognise the first 2 marriages, and they would recognise the British consul marriage, of course. And the Japanese recognised the Japanese marriage, but not the British consul marriage. So we were caught in a bind both ways.
But nevertheless, Mrs. Parker wasn't allowed to come to Australia until much later.
No, because that was the policy, the government policy at the time, that there'd be no Japanese wives allowed to come to Australia. And so we just had to fight that and try and get support to have that changed. And eventually it was.
Cherry has only one living relative in Japan, an aunt. Others died in the atomic destruction of Hiroshima. Cherry was there, a 16-year-old child.
I'm born at Hiroshima, and I live in Kure, and my house that's bombed and burnt.
You must consider yourself lucky to have survived it.
Yeah, I am, yes.
Finally, in more sensible times, the Australian government gave in after much public prodding from supporters of the young couple and allowed Cherry to come to Australia. That was July 1952. And you'd been married then, what, for 4 years?
4 years. Well, nearly 4 years.
What was life like during those 4 years, living apart in 2 different countries?
Well, it was a lot easier for me than it was for Cherry, of course, because I was back here with my family and I had a job and I was fairly comfortable, whereas Cherry was in Japan and later on she had two of our kiddies were born in Japan. Well, she had to look after them with no immediate family. She had friends that were helping her, but she had no family, and that's a rather disastrous position to be in Japan, especially when the Japanese objected to the marriage even more so than the Australians did.
What was the attitude of the Japanese? Did people make life difficult for you in Japan at the time?
No, not difficult, but just that awkward.
They didn't believe that you should have been married to an Australian?
Some people, yes, some people said.
And what was the Australian attitude to your marriage?
Mine was mixed. A lot of people were very much against it. They thought I'd done the wrong thing by marrying an Asian. Didn't matter whether she was Japanese or not in some cases, but especially as she was Japanese and was so recent, like to the war finishing. And other people, of course, couldn't go out of their way to help me. And I remember the ones that helped me, and I've forgotten about the ones that disagreed. We've been very fortunate. Life's been very good to us. We've got 11 grandchildren, so we're quite pleased.